In this video, we're talking about the top 10 defenses for week 4 of fantasy football. If you're new here, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe to get this video every single week. Let's get started with the Commanders, who are in a good spot here. Week 1, they did well against the Giants. Week 3, they did well against the Raiders. In week 4, they're facing an Atlanta Falcons team that has been struggling. Michael Penix Jr. has been struggling to get his receivers the ball, and when they need to rely only on the running backs, that makes the defensive plan a lot easier for the opponent. And we saw the Commanders do a good job against Ashton Genty in week 3. I think the Atlanta Falcons offensive line is a little bit better than that of the Raiders, but the Atlanta offensive line did struggle in week 1 as well. So I do think that this is a good matchup for the Commanders, and they may be available on waiver wire, even though they did face the Raiders in week 3. Defense number 9 is the Texans. I know so far they haven't been doing too well, which means they may be on the waiver wire, but week 4, they get to play the Titans. And Cam Ward started off week 3 with a pick 6. I know he's facing the Colts, a lot tougher matchup, but I do like what Houston is doing in the points allowed category. 14 points week 1, 20 points week 2, 17 points week 3. They're holding their opponents to under 300 yards. They're getting sacks as well. So overall, they're doing a good job getting the sacks, getting the points down. This week, they have a better chance at maybe some interceptions with Cam Ward. I know he's looked good, honestly, but I still think Houston is a pretty decent matchup this week, and they should be available on waivers. But our number 8 team is the Titans, facing that same Texans team. The main issue with the Texans, they've been struggling with that offensive line, which could lead to the Titans getting a few extra sacks. I also like that the Titans are good against the run, which is really going to put a ton of pressure on CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. And they did pretty well in week 3, especially Nico Collins. But overall, they've been really struggling in the pass and the run game. And we look at Tennessee, week 1, they had a good week against Denver. Week 2, they faced the Rams, really tough matchup. Week 3, they faced the Colts. That looks like it's going to be a really bad matchup as well. So they're on waivers in your league. And this week, they have a much better matchup against the Texans. Number 7, I don't even know if we want to call them a defense at this point, but I do like Miami. Overall, their points allowed has been dreadful. It's been in the 30s, but we look what they did against the New England Patriots. I'd say the Jets this week, they gave up a ton of points to the Buccaneers defense in week 3. You look at the sacks, Miami's been getting to the quarterback, 1 sack in week 1, 3 sacks in week 2, and 2 sacks in week 3. They also had a touchdown in week 2 against the Patriots. So they do need to hold down the points, but I don't see the Jets scoring so many points. In the 30s, I doubt the Jets get to the 30s against the Dolphins. I think that they will do a little bit better against Tyrod Taylor. They will get to the quarterback as well, giving them a little bit of a floor. With the Jets being a weaker team at the moment, I do think the Dolphins could be a spot start for you, but we do have better options. Like our number 6 team, the Detroit Lions. They were dropped in 16% of leagues. They're now available in over 50% of leagues since they faced the Ravens in week 3, but they were really solid. They did give up a lot of points, but really everybody does that versus the Ravens. But what I love about them is 2 things, maybe 3 things. Number 1, they get to the quarterback. 4 sacks in week 2, 7 sacks in week 3 against Lamar Jackson. Extremely impressive. They forced a fumble. They had an interception in week 2. They've had a fumble recovery the last 2 weeks. So they've been doing a great job overall as a defensive unit. In week 1, they faced Green Bay. So let's give them a little bit of slack. But this week, they faced the Browns. That is an absolutely amazing matchup. The Browns just haven't been scoring that many points. I think Quidshot Junkins is going to be great. I think he's still a start. But the Detroit Lions are going to be a good defense in the points allowed and in the yardage category this week. And then next week, they face the Bengals. So 2 amazing matchups in a row. So Detroit may be the ad of the week, especially since there's such an amazing start next week as well. Number 5, it is the Vikings, who absolutely dominated the Bengals. We were just talking about that matchup for Detroit. If you're not excited then, you're excited now, because look what the Vikings did to them week 3. 30 fantasy points. Absolutely insane. 10 points allowed, 171 yards, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, 2 touchdowns. Now, this team, I don't expect them to do exactly that against the Steelers, but the Steelers' offense has been struggling, and Aaron Rodgers is so immobile in the pocket that if somebody gets back there, he's going down for a sack. So I like the floor available with the Steelers not scoring a ton of points and Aaron Rodgers being sackable. And of course, there's other upside as well if they get interception, fumble, or any sort of return. The Buffalo defense is in my top 4, even though they haven't been great for fantasy so far. Week 1, they had 0 points. Week 2, they had 10 points. And week 3, they faced Miami. That's supposed to be an easy matchup, but they only had 2 fantasy points. Week 4, they faced the Saints. I think this is a little bit easier matchup. Now, people are underrating the Saints. They have been pretty good this year overall. Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave having some pretty good seasons so far. But I do think the Bills get way ahead in this game. And what that's going to allow them to do is try to get to the quarterback. Week 2, they had 4 sacks. And that's what I'm looking for them to do in week 4. Get a sack floor because they're able to rush the quarterback, build that early lead, maybe get some interceptions, maybe even a pick 6. That was something Seattle was able to do. They were able to generate some nice defensive and special teams touchdowns in week 3. So that's why I'm going with the Bills in week 4. Speaking of the Seahawks, they're my third defense of the week. They've been absolutely incredible so far. Week 1 against San Francisco, not so good, but week 2 against Pittsburgh, they were incredible. They had that lucky I'll call it lucky or a bonehead touchdown thanks to Caleb Johnson in week 2. They also did great in week 3 against the Saints, who we were just talking about. They had 2 sacks, not too great on the sack front, but they did have an interception. They also had that return touchdown. So excellent work by the Seahawks. This week they faced the Cardinals. The Cardinals have been okay, about middle of the pack so far in terms of matchup, but they haven't been going crazy with the points. They just lost James Conner. So I think the Seahawks, with how well they've been doing, especially against Pittsburgh and the Saints, are a good start this week against the Cardinals. Your number 2 defense of the week. Now, this is maybe a little bit riskier, so it's a little bit of a call out. So I'd say, hey, just go with Detroit if you're not sure. But I do love the Chargers this week. We go over to their game log. Their points allowed is solid, 21, 9, and 20. That's pretty good, especially against the Chiefs week 1 and Denver week 3. Now, week 4, they're facing Jackson Dart in his first ever game. And there's some benefits and some negatives to that. So the one benefit, he's a rookie. He's never played before. He's going to probably be a little bit nervous, and the Chargers have a pretty strong run defense. So they're going to be trying to shut down Cam Scatterboo. He's an amazing start, by the way. Even though he's facing the Chargers, he's an amazing start. Tyrone Tracy, get him out 2 to 4 weeks. We're going to see Scatterboo in that rush, in that blocking game, which he dominated in week 2, and in that receiving role he had as well. So love Scatterboo. But that's the benefit to starting the Chargers defense. They get to face a rookie on a team that's been struggling overall. So that's one thing I do like about them. We look at their sacks. They've had 2 sacks, 3 sacks, and 2 sacks. So love that. They had 3 interceptions week 2 against the Raiders. So they are a team that can generate those turnovers. They have no touchdowns yet. But the negative, the reason why they're slight riskier is it's Jackson Dart's first game. And was that a positive? Yes, but it also can be a negative since he's going to be playing differently than Russell Wilson. They don't really have film on him. When you don't have film, I think it makes it a lot more difficult to stop a quarterback. They're going to be playing a little differently. He's got different skills. Obviously, they have the college film, but they don't have him in this giant scheme. They don't know exactly what the Giants are going to be doing with him. So I do think that Jackson Dart he could be electric in this first game because the Chargers don't exactly know what to expect. They don't know all of his strengths and weaknesses quite yet like they would if this was a week 16 or 17 game. That's the pros and cons of the Chargers, but if they are available in your league, I think they've been doing a pretty good job, especially in the points allowed category, giving you a pretty decent floor this week against the Giants. Now for our number 1 defense of the week and a bonus waiver wire ad that has to do with this game is the Denver Broncos. We go to their game log right off the bat here. Tennessee, week 1, we talked about the Texans facing Tennessee. They scored 14 points. Week 2, they faced the Colts. The Colts have been dominant versus everybody. Week 3, they faced the Chargers and had 9 points. This week, they face the Bengals. This is probably one of the juiciest matchups you can have. Right now, the Bengals are reeling. They are fumbling the ball. They're throwing interceptions. They can't get first downs. Chase Brown can barely run the ball. They have really nothing going for them, the Bengals, and that's going to give this Denver defense an amazing opportunity to get after the quarterback quickly, limit the opportunity. Plus, they have the lockdown corners for people like Jamar Chase with Pat Surtain. T. Higgins has been struggling, a complete bench. Chase Brown, I think a bench this week as well. Maybe even Jamar Chase finds the bench versus Pat Surtain. It's going to be that bad for the Bengals, who we looked at had 171 yards in week 3. Now, we look again a little bit at this matchup, and one of the things I love about this is Denver gets to the quarterback. They had 5 sacks in week 1, or 6 sacks in week 1. Sorry, Denver defense. 5 sacks in week 3. They also had 2 fumble recoveries in week 1, 1 in week 3, and 1 interception in week 3 as well, against a very good Chargers defense. So absolutely love this Denver Broncos defense, plus the waiver ad of the week, guys. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe to get this video next week as well. The waiver ad of the week is Will Lutz. Did you know that kickers and defenses actually stack just like quarterbacks and wide receivers? They have boom weeks in the same week, which makes sense since the defense is giving that kicker more opportunities. So if you like the Denver defense and you add them, if you have them, add Will Lutz for a double chance at a double boom week.